Hello, good morning. I've got a throng of wonderful vocabularies. You are required to listen to this story, and you are required to memorize them all. And you are required the rigueur. Memorizing them is the rigueur. Okay, we're going to cover this later too. All right? It's about suit and sweatpants. Number one, vocabulary number one. Dress code. Dress code. Every company has its own dress code. Every organization has its dress code. 복장 규정. Every company has its own dress code. Well, another wonderful phrase in the story, a very creative phrase is sartorial rule. Sartorial rule. S-A-R-T-O-R-I-A-L. Sart, S-A-R-T, sartorial rule. Sartorial. Sartorial rule. S-A-R-T-O-R-I-A-L. Try and listen to it again. Sartorial. Sartorial is an adjective, 형용사, but it originally came from sartor, S-A-R-T-O-R, meaning tailor, T-A-I-L-O-R, 양복쟁이, sartorial, tailor. In Latin, tailor means sartor. So it's a tailor, and then adjective is sartor. Everything related to your sartor, 양복, right? 양복의 or 양복에 관한. So if he has very good style, right? It's sartorial elegance. And well, he has a very high charisma whenever he wears this suit. Sartorial charisma. Well, you know Byron. Byron loves to wear Armani suit to have sartorial intimidation. Whenever he makes presentation, whenever he has great presentation, and he wants to intimidate his audiences, right, with the charisma and sartorial intimidation. He is a very tall, handsome man with a unique sartorial elegance. So sartorial elegance is very typical phrase. 멋진 양복 감각. Sartorial elegance. So dress code is almost the same as sartorial rule. If you work for a company, you have to have a sartorial file. You have to follow dress code or sartorial rule. Very good. Now, another vocabulary related to suit is don, D-O-N. Don is the same as shortened form of do on. If you go to a department store to buy a suit and you have to try them on, try on, 입어봐야 하죠. Try on. So do on is 입어보다, do on. And then do on has been shortened into don, D-O-N. So don is wear. And he donned his finest attire. Attire? What do you mean attire? Okay, attire. Now let's focus on attire now. Attire, A-T-T-I-R-E. Attire is formal clothes. Like it is a formality. Nobody thinks jeans are appropriate attire for a wedding. And at least he showed up on time and in correct attire. You get it? So you are a lawyer. You have to wear, say, appropriate attire, right? You go to a wedding party, you have to wear appropriate attire, right? And also, like I said a minute ago, he donned his finest attire. Very good example. Now, follow suit is 똑같이 따라하다. It's a follow suit. And vestige comes from vest, V-S-T. But vestige, V-E-S-T-I-G-E, is remnant, a trace disappearing and will not exist anymore, like a 자취 or 흔적. You are done for the day, you go home, and you change, right? 옷을 갈아입다. But proper phrase is change into or slip into, S-L-I-P, slip into or change into. I want to change into my pajamas. He slipped into his pajamas. Here's another vocabulary for you. Crispness. 깔끔하게 된 옷, 깔끔함, crispness. Now, de rigueur. Remember at the beginning of the story, I said de rigueur, D-E-R-I-G-U-E-U-R. It's a French word, but it's a must study vocabulary. Okay? De rigueur. Rigueur is R-I-G-U-E-U-R is in English rigueur. R-I-G-O-R means 엄격함 or 엄밀. So 엄격, 엄밀 is like it's a demand or it's demanded or it's required, right? Rigueur, R-I-G-O-R. In French, rigueur, R-I-G-U-E-U-R, de rigueur. So proper attire is de rigueur. That means required by fashion or custom, right? Youngsters these days get tattooed a lot. So as far as young gangsters are concerned, it's de rigueur for them to get tattooed. Now, pinstriped. Pinstripe is 줄무늬 양복. Pinstriped. P-I-N-S-T-R-I-P-E-D. Pinstriped. And we have covered lots of wonderful, excellent vocabularies with respect to the clothes. You have things that you have to wear. Now, I'd like you to listen to the next story, which we covered in my reading class. Suits and sweatpants. The pandemic has refashioned corporate dress codes. In an internal memo to staff in 2016, J.P. Morgan Chase relaxed its dress code. The American bank's 240,000 employees could hang up their suits and don business casual attire all working week. Some garments remained out of the question. T-shirts, tank tops, yoga pants. But many polo shirts, skirts, dress sandals became appropriate. J.P. Morgan was sartorially speaking ahead of its time among stuffy corporate giants. Turtlenecks and hoodies have long been the fashion choice of Silicon Valley titans. Other companies followed suit, as it were. Men's corporate uniform increasingly came to be seen as a vestige of the male-dominated offices of old and no longer fit for purpose in a world of greater workplace equality. As more and more people ran or cycled to work, they found that changing into a full suit was impractical, since jackets folded into rucksacks tend to lose their crispness. These days, ties are no longer de rigueur in client meetings, even for pinstriped investment bankers at Goldman Sachs. Merchants of formal wear have fallen on hard times. Last year, Brooks Brothers, which had been making shirts since 1818, filed for bankruptcy. Last month, Marks & Spencer, a British retailer, announced it would no longer sell men's suits in more than half of its bigger stores. As the pandemic completely decoupled work and presence in the office, employees at many companies switched into something even less formal. Unlike J.P. Morgan, however, most companies have not put any guidelines in place about what is and what isn't appropriate. Although the Delta variant is forcing companies to delay a return to the office, that day will come. When workers are back at their desks, at least some of the time, new sartorial rules may be required.